Hello and welcome to Model Railroading for Dummies, the how-to show for model railroading dummies just like me. Now for this episode, I think what we're going to need to do is to create a very solid base for which we're going to put our grain silos and grain bins and the elevator thingy. Because in looking over it, it's like, okay, and also looking, okay, how do I want to connect all the bins and stuff? It's like, okay, simple styrene base is not going to cut it. I need something nice, rock solid, so that I can easily take them all out as one chunk. So, and also have something that can really hold on to. So I got to thinking, because I got just a 1-inch foam board for base. It's like, well, I think what I could do is just take some lumber, 1x6, and then cut it out, and then cut that piece of foam out, and then maybe put a little cork roll bed, because a 1-inch piece of board is not 1 inch thick. It is 3/4 of an inch. So that's what I decided to do. So I measured it out, and I cut a board to the shape. So now, without any further ado, let's go over to the layout and cut out the foam for this. Okay, here we are at the layout. Now what I did here to measure this out, so I measured out, okay, how far it is from here to here, and this sort of increased it and made sure I wrote down exactly what I needed. You can also just use a piece of newspaper or something and just trace it out and cut it. Then I cut it out with a table saw. But that's how I did this. So what we're going to need to do is set this in place. Yeah, I should have had this at an angle, but it is what it is. So now what I need to do is mark out exactly where I need to cut. So I could slip this right in. Okay. Put that out of the way. Now I'm using an old kitchen knife that I borrowed for something a while back, and it's never gone back. And probably can't, considering what all the stuff I've used for it. Got a nice screw. See, is that holding up anything in particular? Yes, it is. That's where the arm is. So I think I know what I'll do there. I'll get to that when we get there. There, that went good. There we go. Got the first chunk out. Got to take my little vacuum and vacuum all this up. Make sure it's preferably a little bit wider at the bottom here versus at the top. Okay, now for this piece here. Okay, things are looking good. So now let's put this in. Okay, now got that screw there. I pressed it down. So now I got a nice puncture hole here. And I'm going to take a drill and take my drill, or actually my drill's out in the sheep barn, but my dad's new drill is in the house, so I could use his drill and drill a nice hole there so it could slip right over top of the screw. Okay, I've drilled a bit of a hole for the screw, and let's see how she fits. Actually, she fits pretty good for the most part. I think she needs a little bit of trimming, or at least the foam does, because it's almost too tight. Okay, to make sure to enlarge the size, I'm going to use this sanding sponge here. And I can get in there a little bit easier. Okay, let's vacuum that up. Okay, let's test fit it again. Okay, the board is slightly warped a little bit. It's a cheaper board that we get. We quite often, over at Lowe's, they quite often have cheap bundles of lumber because there's some warped ones that cracked or something. I think that's where this came from. But this was actually pretty good for the most part. But it works. So, what we're going to need to do now is, since this is way too low, we're going to have to build it up. And to build it up, we're going to be using some cork here. And as I've said in other videos, I do not know where it came from. I think it's the type of stuff that you use for, bulletin boards or something. Yeah, bulletin boards, and my mom was throwing it out when I was cleaning out the basement. So it's like, well, if you're not going to use it, I'm sure I could use it for model railroading. Boy, did I have to get that right. Used in several projects now. Okay, now what we need to do is just put a layer of this stuff on. I think that should get us about to the right height. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see, we need a scissors so we can get approximately cut it there. So I'm just going to do a rough cut. So we get something about the right size. And I mean very rough. That way we got a much smaller piece I have to deal with. There we go. Now I can roll this up and put it off to the side. Now, what we'll do, I think, see, there's a little bit of a notch there. But what we'll do here is take some wood glue, glue this in nice and solid, and then once that dries, I can just trim it right along the edge perfectly. So let's see if I can find my wood glue. There she is. There we go. Try and get the edges so that the edges don't curl up. And just do a little bit in the middle to hold it down. Then we will just carefully lay this into the glue. Get nice and straight along this edge here. And then with this glue that sticks out, just get a wet paper towel or something and get rid of that. You don't want to beat a glue there. So then I would recommend getting some books and stuff so this holds it down. So I'll go get some books and stuff to weight this down. Then when this is dry, we can cut this off. Okay, this is all nicely dry. So now we need to trim this off. So I got a hobby knife here. And just a matter of going along the edge and trimming her off. Okay, I've reached that part. Now let's go along this edge. Okay, that looks good. So hopefully that's the right height. If not, I'm gonna have to make another layer of this stuff. Okay, so what we're going to need to do here is to paint everything black. You know, the blue foam and the base here. I think we're going to need to paint that all black, so that way you don't have any chance of any of that showing through the scenery. So I mean, there's a kind of dip here because this is where a joint in between the plywood, and so that did not turn out quite good. And I wasn't smart enough when I built this to have some screw some boards or something to help with the join. So, but this can be filled in with just some dirt or something, which shouldn't be too hard. So now we got a nice solid base with which we can put all of our stuff and not have to worry about it coming loose, particularly when we join everything together. Now, the problem we're going to have with this cork here is that I don't think it's going to be the best thing for gluing these silos in. So I think what we're going to need to do there is just take some of this styrene sheet and then cut that to size. And then we can just use super glue and glue it on. Glue this onto this. And then we could just take some Elmer's white glue or something to glue the base onto this base. And I think that will create a nice solid base which we can put our stuff. And also I think we're going to need to have the styrene for this too. Because, you know, so that way you can, this here is going to need to have a little bit of cement paint, but that shouldn't take too much. Same with these here. I'm going to need to paint this cement color here. Shouldn't be too much. I used the Rust-Oleum metallic aluminum, and it turned out nice, I'll tell you. And then I gave it a dull coat too, just so it's not quite so shiny. But overall, I really like how that turned out. That coloring turned out. So if you want an older bin though, you're going to want more of a gray. Because after being around for quite a while, they lose that shine. So, yeah, this is going to be situated over in here. Right about here, I'd say. Then this is going to be situated more or less there. Let's get the other two. Oops. There, I think it'll look something like that. See, I'm liking how this is going. So I think now I'm gonna paint this all black and get the styrene base on. Okay, I got everything all nicely painted now. And one thing to note, if you have painted something and you think it is dry, make sure it is dry before you test fit it again to make sure it looks all good. Otherwise, that happens. Well, there's another spot that needed touching up anyway. Well, there's a couple other spots that needed touching up anyways. The other one was right up there. So I'm going to have to mix up that leftover blue paint. So what I did for this here is I took some Vallejo Stonewall Gray. And that turned out into a tongue twister. And I used a little bit of styrene in and put a nice cement square, and then I glued it on. So that way it's separate. And then I took a piece of styrene here. I measured approximately where I want, how much I wanted. So now all I need to do is just take some super glue and glue those on, and then take some regular hobby glue and glue these on. So far things are really looking good. Then I also heavily weathered this here using the same techniques I did for the main elevator. But I heavily weathered this, because the one in Volga is very heavily rusted. So I definitely did not under or over weather this. So, and then once again the cement color is Stonewall Gray. So overall things are really looking good. Okay, that's going to have to be it for today. So things are really looking good, and we're wrapping up to finishing up this project. So if you like this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure to hit the little bell icon so you can receive notifications when I release new content. So until next time, keep working on your model railroads, keep having fun, and until next time, keep your trains on the tracks.